So great to be here with you all. Thank you for investing the time. I do understand that we are between you and getting a drink and or maybe getting some sunshine. So thank you for investing your time in one of the later sessions this afternoon. Super pleased to be here and have my esteemed panel alongside me. I'm Stephen Mullaghan. I lead strategic fintech development at Microsoft here in the UK. I'm moderating today's panel. We're going to explore how is AI shaping partnerships. And we're also going to discover how our go-to-market approach is evolving at the moment as well. And then we'll also discuss how go-to-market with a hyperscaler collaborations, these types of collaborations drive innovation and growth as well. So all topics we're hoping to cover with this amazing panel of innovators from our ecosystem. And I'm just going to allow each of them to introduce themselves, their role, and a little bit about what they do as an organization. So first we'll go to Shivani.
Can you hear me? Amazing. Thank you so much, Stevie. My name's Shivani Ladwa. I'm an Alliances Director at Quantexa, and Quantexa is a leading decision intelligence platform headquartered in the UK in London.
Mic check. Hi, I'm Emily Turner, so I lead strategic alliances at ClearBank, and for anybody that doesn't know, ClearBank are a tech-enabled, cloud-native clearing bank, foundationally built on payments in clearing and embedded banking.
And hi, good afternoon everyone. I'm Kate from Acin, and Acin partners with clients in operational risk to drive maturity and excellence to be able to evidence that you're in control of your risk and in control of your regulatory requirements.
Good afternoon, my name is Alastair MacKenzie. I'm head of strategic partnerships at a company called AutoRek. We're a specialist provider of a SaaS solution that provides a financial controls and data platform.
Hi, and good afternoon everyone. My name is Alan Walsh. I'm VP of Channels at a company called TradeLedger. We're a lending as a service platform. We license to banks around the globe and have been working with Microsoft for a good couple of years now. Nice to see you all. Thank you.
Super, thank you everyone. Thanks for spending the time with us. So to get us started, first question is, in this era of AI, and I say that, we're talking about AI so much today, but of course it's not new. It's been around for a long time, but I think with obviously generative AI, this has really I kind of given a lot of new energy into the conversations that we're having, especially today. In this era of AI, do we need to think differently about partnership strategy? So Kate, maybe I'll go to you first on that.
Yeah, thank you. So at Acin, AI is at the core of everything that we do. And so when we look at our partnership strategy and AI, it's really through three different lenses. So first of all, the product and the innovation. The pace of change, as we all know, in AI is phenomenal, and we need to stay at the forefront of that change. And so how can strategic partnerships ensure that we are at that forefront? And actually, Microsoft itself is a great example there, because Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI meant that we could really lean in at an accelerated pace into Gen AI, but all within the security and safety net of the Microsoft cloud. So that's one example there. The second dimension is with the go-to-market, and this is really the lens of trust and credibility. And we at Acin, we get submissions from banks, but we use AI, and the bar is exceptionally high from our clients in terms of governance and security and how we manage all of that. Some of you may have seen, but the CISO at JP Morgan has just written an open letter to third parties, asking them to prioritize security around AI. So that governance and that bar is only going to get higher from here. So looking at partners to be able to bring that trust, that credibility. Microsoft, again, is accepted everywhere, so that's great. We at Acin have another dimension to that partnership strategy as well, where we've got 5 banks that are strategic investors in Acin and sit on our board and our governance. And that really reinforces the credibility from a peer-to-peer partnership basis across the industry more broadly. And then the third piece is looking at partnerships through the lens of client excellence. And with the way that clients are engaging with us, and with the increasing demand for real-time information, the increasing usage of agents, we are being asked more and more to have that direct API connectivity into clients and into their in-house systems. So looking at partnerships with GRCs or with ServiceNow, for example, so that we can be seamlessly embedded internally within our clients. And that's a partnership where the sort of 2 + 2 = 5 in terms of the value of the experience we can bring to clients.
Super insightful, thank you. Anyone else on this one, partnership strategy, different?
Yeah, I think we would definitely advocate that benefit of the 2 + 2 = 5 or 6. And so we've found that partnerships have been super important. I think in an era of AI, your North Star remains the value you provide. So the partnership delivers on value. But we think there are a number of important considerations. So that collaboration, so with regulators. So it was interesting to see the FCA today announcing the live AI lab consultation paper. And they've got a roundtable next week with the ICO. So you've got that broad collaboration with the industry, with clients, and with innovators like ourselves. I think you've got a collaboration from a perspective of if there is this massive expected ways of working change, how are we going to deliver that change? It's not going to be just about the technology. We're going to need broad partnerships that understand cultural change, education and awareness, and making sure that we're able to get that high level of user adoption with these different ways of working. We've also got, I think, something that's becoming a new area. So our engineers are spending as much time vexing themselves on the efficient use of AI as well as the innovation in AI, so that we're doing it responsibly and responsibly from impact on the planet. And I think it's where the benefit of hyperscalers like Microsoft and the amazing R&D and people that they have comes together with the expertise that we have as fintechs that says this could be a small language model and a more efficient way of delivering AI and a very persona-based way of delivering AI. So I think that's going to be a growing area over the coming years as we start to think about the sort of energy impact of AI and making sure as a group of partners we come together to do it as efficiently as possible.
Thank you, Alastair. Anyone else on this one? Yes, Shivani?
I think I would add to Alice's point about value. I think that even in the age and era of AI, getting the fundamentals right in partnership strategies still is really valid. That's about building mutual benefit, building credibility, trust, as simple as doing what you say that you will do. And I think when you're having a conversation with Microsoft or any small vendors or big vendors in the audience, what I found has been helpful in our experience is really understanding who are you talking to at Microsoft, what's their role, what's their scope, understanding what motivates them, and then being clear about that two-way benefit. That's still really important.
I like that. I think with, I guess, the hype cycle, all of these innovations go through, there are tweaks that need to be made to adapt and make sure that you're as part of that transformation, but the fundamentals remain, right? Anyone else on that?
Just following on from that, Stevie, as well, I think for us, credibility has been talked about a lot already from us as a sort of relatively small fintech and startup. Working with Microsoft adds a significant amount of credibility, but that adaptability piece, what we've found is we sell to banks, the banks that we've sold to already, the AI layer is almost like an extension. So they're already using us as trade ledger, and what the combination, the better together story that Alastair mentioned as well of us working with Microsoft is just an extension into the systems that banks already work with when they're on the Microsoft stack as well. So it doesn't seem too advanced, and that's come some way from maybe even 6-9 months ago where banks were quite reticent to move into this space because, like we've already mentioned, it moves at such pace. By the time something's been released, it's almost obsolete and out of date. And that comes back to, I think, to that flexibility point there as well. So there definitely seems to be a better together, this sort of ecosystem working together to allow that to happen and adapt almost in real time.
I'd come in with one last point, and it's some kudos to Microsoft, the conduit of bringing us together. So I've actually learned quite a lot from meeting other like-minded organizations that we may have struggled to meet on our own. So yeah, that conduit that Microsoft has provided to bring partners together to share best practice, to talk about ideas that I think all help the market as a whole.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, super. I think the next question I'm keen to ask is how is AI actually impacting your operations, your value prop, how you go to market, or product development, product roadmap? It would be great if we could hear from each of you maybe in terms of some of the things that actually you're doing to infuse this technology into to those aspects. So whoever might want to go first on this one. Shiv?
I can start if you like. If I just give a little bit of background on Quantexa as a platform, it'll help me answer the question. I promise I will answer the question. So Quantexa is a decision intelligence platform that's bringing disparate data sets together in any format with schemaless. and we use that data to build a contextual data foundation, and that drives effective decision making across the business. That could be many different use cases: FinCrime, fraud, customer intelligence, supply chain integrity, data management. So there's a lot of things that our platform does. So when it comes to how AI is affecting or influencing our product roadmap, we've used machine learning and composite AI on our platform for many years, but what we're now bringing to the market is new tools, modules to the platform that use AI or integrate into our customers' LLM of choice or Copilot of choice to enable how users make use of the data that we are surfacing. And that product is called Q-Assist. So we've been able to launch that. So it's a direct influence on our product roadmap. I think, very briefly, the second way it's influencing our value proposition is, I think a lot of us recognize and know that for AI investments to be successful, you need to have good quality data. And Quantexa is all around improving the quality of your data. So in our partnership with Microsoft, we're able to fuse the power of Quantexa, unifying, consolidating a data foundation, and then Microsoft coming with the full suite of Gen AI tools, LLM, Copilot, Open Azure AI. And so we're telling that end-to-end story with Microsoft, and that's really, really an important thing for us to be getting right.
I think if I observe, I've been working very closely with the Quantexa team on the recent product developments, and especially as we're going to market in the industries, the proposition that you're putting forward around getting your data ready for AI, I think is landing really well. So not only is it the product development, but it's also the messaging around how you're positioning those conversations with customers, because they know they need to, garbage in, garbage out. It's not a new term. It's making sure that actually you're showing up and you're innovating in those types of ways. Emily, I guess in terms of ClearBank, I know that you're doing a lot of fantastic stuff on AI internally. Anything that you would add here in terms of how it's helping your operations or how?
For sure. So I think given our position as a bank, we might have a slightly different kind of perspective with this. Naturally, kind of banking as an industry is massively risk adverse. That being said, we're completely cognizant that innovation is critical and kind of undoubtedly pivotal for us to continue growing, and AI is absolutely part of that. But when we look at kind of how we're able to deploy AI, it's kind of more from that inside out perspective, but we're committed to doing it responsibly, securely, safely, robustly, scalably, all of those good banking words that keep everybody in risk super happy. So yes, we've started to kind of deploy AI in solutions, but again, super intentionally. So we've recently published, I think with Microsoft, a piece about our payments recovery process where we've deployed AI into that, and we've been able to kind of reduce times by 80%, which is a massive impact in the business. Outside of that, we have, I think, literally hundreds of mini projects or experiments that we've got going on. Again, about kind of the efficiencies of the business. For us, that's where AI is a no-brainer. So whether that might be a bot which is able to take in our internal processes and horizon scan it with regulatory pipeline to make sure that kind of we're on track and make sure that there's alignment there, or if there's anything that we need to start thinking about, or whether it's coming back to your point with the customer service piece, a conversational tool where in natural language we can query a data lake and just say, hey, what has this customer's volume been this month, or how does that compare to last year? So really starting to try and kind of build the efficiencies from the inside, and hopefully then that kind of has the consumer benefit outwardly as well.
Amazing. Kate and Acin?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit through the lens of our value prop in that we have, over the last 6 to 12 months, released a whole portfolio of agents for our clients. And that's opened up the exam question of how do you price for agents? How do you commercialize them? Because as a user, you can have the perception of, I've clicked this and a second later I get the answer, this must be really cheap. But actually, there are a lot of embedded costs, whether it's the R&D, the cost of sale, front to back, there's a huge embedded cost in that. And agents actually lend themselves really well to a value-based pricing approach and a value-based strategy. But to drive value, you need precision. And so when we look at our AI versus what else is out there, it's key to be specialist and not generalist. And when I say specialist, it's leaning into good quality data. That's come up a lot. It's having standards, and it's producing answers that clients are willing to accept. So our AI agents hit 95% plus acceptance rates. And when you get to that level, the precision drives pricing. And you're going to see an increasing positive correlation between AI precision and pricing.
Interesting. I'll come back to you in a moment, Alastair, but I know, Alan, this is something that actually TradeLedger is doing a little bit of work on, new product development. You've joined the commercialization piece is something that I guess you guys have done a little bit of thinking around. Anything to add there from your perspective?
Yeah, so there's a few things, and I guess one of the things we've been looking at is addressing it culturally. In my opinion, there's almost two schools of thought here. There's people that naturally are curious and lean into AI, and I'm talking not just about the product itself, but how you use it in your natural day-to-day at work. And those that are maybe a little bit more, whether it's risk averse or what have you. So I think we as a business have actually been very fortunate that we've been given the reins to have the freedom to go and be curious, to try out new AI technologies, be that Copilot, ChatGPT, Sana, Sora, any of these. And they will differ depending on what department you're in and what your needs are. So we've almost tried to reinvent ourselves as a business, first and foremost, for the reason that we believe we can significantly speed up our workflows, our operations, but also to add authenticity and credibility to who we are as a business, that if we are using AI in our day-to-day workflows, we can speak with a bit more authority about it when we come to sell an AI product. We've all seen the memes on whatever social channel you go on where people are sprinkling AI dust over their product type thing. That doesn't work. So we are aggressively leaning into it as a business to sort of change that. And then to your point, Stevie, around the sort of commercialization, obviously Microsoft very heavily leading in and leaning into AI. We've been fortunate to attend a number of workshops there, but that's been very useful for us to sort of build out and look at frameworks of not just how you use AI, but how do you justify what is a good use case? Because you could effectively say everything becomes AI, but there's a lot of smoke and mirrors around that. A lot isn't actually AI. So looking at this and understanding, again, like you say, Kate, from the pricing standpoint, the commercialization standpoint, it all comes back to, like everything we do, what is the value proposition and what is the value that a customer is willing to pay for it? And I'd almost argue that's where probably we come a bit unstuck, so to speak, in the sense that there's that chicken and egg situation where we're very eager to start to building with AI and build an AI solution for clients, but either the industry or the banks themselves aren't necessarily ready for it. We're very much getting much closer to that now, and that will be imminently, I'm sure.
Amazing. And lastly, Alastair, I know both internally, the focus it's bringing, but externally as well. Anything that you would add from an adoption and an innovation perspective?
Yeah, I think just to build on Alan's point, how do you move from AI being a special project into something that's embedded in operational processes? So without going through a huge element of our organisational change for this year, for example, our risk and governance teams, which might have been at the end of product development, are now very much at the start of product development. So the last thing we want to do is make a big investment, have an amazing innovation, but we can never take to market because it doesn't meet with regulatory compliance. So they're now embedded much earlier with our engineering teams. And I think we've been on quite a journey on AI over the last 12 months. So I think if you to speak to our engineering teams a year ago, they'd have been pretty fatigued by AI and the hype cycle, and not AI again. We've been doing this for many years. Machine learning, statistical modeling has been our products for some time. So our engineering team were, I think, fairly fatigued with all of the promises and all of the people speaking to them about AI. But fast forward 12 months, and partly in collaboration with Microsoft, having visited their labs, having done a number of co-innovation projects with customers, and having an AI track at our user conference in November of last year, complete turnaround in terms of Gen AI and its ability to completely revolutionize the user experience and onboard new users, the use of AI in terms of how we might do an implementation and all of the data preparation work, and then finally how we might look at using AI as that agentic AI capability where you really do provide that shift in ways of working, and we don't go from AI just being the next evolution of automation, but it is a step change. So yeah, fast forward from 12 months ago, we're super excited about the work we're doing with Microsoft and just the new ways of thinking that have come up from working with other partners.
Yeah, amazing. It's been great to see some of the stories and innovation and case studies and use cases, especially the labs. I think, Alan, similarly, you guys came out of a lab quite recently, and some of the work that we managed to publish as a result of the work that's been done there. It's great. So my next question then is, so we've touched on innovation a little bit in terms of the AI aspect, how you're using that across your business. The next part I want to touch on is go-to-market and that whole kind of scale approach is I guess fintechs or companies who are looking to scale into financial services. How are you seeing that evolve? You know, how are you doing it today, and how are you seeing it evolve? You know, we've obviously kind of marketplaces is an evolving procurement location where, you know, companies like Microsoft have whole catalogs and suites of software companies, but you're also seeing quite a big focus around partner to partner. How do we better go to market together with other partners? We talked about is quite important. Yeah. So how are we seeing that evolve? I guess open to the floor. Whoever might want to jump in there on that one.
I'm happy to take a lead, just kind of jumping
course.
in on what you said with Marketplace, and I think it'd be completely remiss of us not to talk about Marketplace when we're up here with Microsoft or hyperscalers in general. I think they will continue to grow. I definitely think they are disrupting the kind of strategic procurement life cycles, giving access to those customers, but also kind of allowing us to co-sell, co-innovate, kind of make sure that that value is evenly distributed against everybody, but also tap into pre-committed budgets. So there's billions of pounds of committed spends across all of the hyperscalers, right? But being part of a marketplace and being on that journey with your cloud service provider is absolutely integral to being able to kind of tap into that. I think us as a business, we're looking at it from both sides of the coin there, both the route to market, so going to market with Microsoft, co-innovating, co-selling, all of the good stuff that goes alongside that, but also changing our procurement processes to really kind of strategically look at how we're able to leverage the benefits of the marketplace into the business as well. And I know that kind of we've worked with people on this panel as well who might speak about it in a bit more detail.
Yeah, amazing. I think unique. Each of you in your own right as a customer, but primarily it's a partnership-driven approach. But seeing the adoption of Marketplace from a partner go-to-market perspective, but also as a customer perspective, how you're able to procure software much faster. And, you know, I think you're alluding to an example we might talk to, but we're seeing others examples across financial services. Nationwide just published an article just recently. Likewise, RSA, how marketplaces are helping them. I'll go to Kate to cover from yourself in terms of the evolution of go-to-market, how you're seeing that evolve, anything that you would add, because I think you guys are early on that cycle, right? But it's something.
Yeah, exactly, and we're at a bit of a turning point. So our target market has historically been the top 60 banks, and anyone here selling into banks knows that is not a quick or a short process. So you're talking about a sales phase process of about 18 months. It's complex, it's very white glove, very, very strategic. And that will still be our target market, but all of the agents that we've recently developed, we can sell those industry agnostic. So suddenly our target market has just exploded. Now we don't have the team to be able to go to market in that. So this is where it is ripe for strategic partnerships like a marketplace. And so I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited by the stories I hear around the panel here because we are slightly further behind on the journey. But I think having that partnership with a brand that's as trusted and as widely recognized as a Microsoft, I think is phenomenal. So I'm really excited about the next steps here.
Yeah, just to echo Kate there, I think we're ever so slightly ahead on that journey there. So we've sort of made our first co-sell transaction with Microsoft via the marketplace now. That has effectively significantly increased the deal size and deal term. And I mentioned it earlier, I think it's because the particular bank that we were selling to sees Trade Ledger as an extension almost of the Microsoft's ecosystem. So they're buying into this long-term partnership effectively, and that definitely, we touched on the better together story as well. I think I'm naturally biased as partnerships as well, but this collaboration in my mind is significantly enhanced over the last few years, not just because partners want to collaborate. I think you're seeing from banks, and Kate, you might see this as well, whereby they're almost looking for one throat to choke. There's so many fintechs out there, and look around this room today and UK FinTech Week, everybody are going to the banks trying to sell them that they do everything and all singing, all dancing, where What I think Microsoft has done extremely well is building out this sort of multi-party proposition, whereby you can bring 2, 3, 4, 5 partners together to collaborate and sell that proposition via the marketplace. And that's a big value add for the bank there, because again, there's the credibility piece, big value add for us, because like we've all said, we're smaller businesses, so you get that scalability, that international sales team that can go out and effectively amplify that message, and that's what we're sort of leaning into now. And the go-to-market efforts of things like this panel are absolutely huge for us, and all the sort of support that comes with it.
So I came across a recent statistic that said this last year, the total committed spend across the 3 hyperscalers has reached 380 billion, and 10 to 12% of that will be on third-party software. So what that tells me is that our customers have already voted with their IT budgets on the strategy that they want to take. And so going with that gravity is super important, especially if you are from a third-party software provider that is claiming to be customer obsessed. Doing what is easiest for the customer is the most important thing. And RSA is a perfect example of a new customer of ours that did go through Marketplace. And it's easier for them to do that. It's aligning with their strategy. It's showing how we're part of that ecosystem. So go with gravity is my advice.
Amazing. I know Shivani, as one of your accounts, you actually work with the account team on that. That is the Marketplace. It's not just the same for, it's the same for some of the other cloud hyperscalers, is the route often to going to market in an industry with a hyperscaler, figuring out how you tap into that. So of course there's a little bit of work in terms of getting into marketplace, but once you're there, essentially that is unlocking that ability to go to market and scale globally across other industries, across other geographies. So you had the example with RSA, but I think you guys just did an activity in the insurance North American market. Obviously you're growing in as well, so it's unlocking, you're able to unlock, I guess, engagements with different industry folks that you might otherwise not have had the chance to.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like success breeds success, and so when you have a case study, it wasn't the easiest thing for us to learn what to get right when we went through that first transaction on Marketplace, but it's becoming so much easier for us as a business to engage early on the deal. We know who to speak to, and so then we can go and tell that story in different markets and different geographies, and the Microsoft teams are getting really excited about that. So it's a really exciting opportunity for us.
Amazing. Alastair?
Yeah, I think a theme that's come across here is trust. So for us, it's all about giving customers choice and that ability to buy through trusted parties. So if they've got a long-standing relationship with Microsoft, then that ease of use, doing it in your own local country with your local team, that's the kind of choice we want to give to our customers if it makes the buying experience easier for them. I think also it's really important in terms of that Microsoft relationship. I think Alan touched on it, so that credibility that we're following best practices. So if you're thinking about using AI as part of our solution, the fact that we've followed best practices and we've collaborated with Microsoft is really powerful, because I think, to Kate's point, we want long-term relationships with these organizations, and that's why we buy into this extended and long evaluation of preferred technology, because we want them to be partners and customers of ours for a very, very long time. And then ultimately, we've seen that customers do want that choice. ClearBank have selected AutoRek and chose to purchase through the marketplace. You mentioned Nationwide, so we've seen a lot of our customers or prospects choosing marketplace as a preferred route for them, but we're always going to give them that choice. But it does seem that it's growing in importance.
Well, we've seen of sectors, actually, someone was referencing this in one of the sessions earlier. Financial services might not always be the industry that is leading on certain things. Maybe there'll be a fast follower in terms of industries, but actually what we're seeing in respect of enterprise procurement via marketplaces, that financial services is leading the way. It's our top industry. So we've seen 180% growth on financial services globally. In the UK financial services market, we've seen 300% growth year over year on deals being done via marketplace. So a lot of, we've just named 3 large customers there, are just the ones that we're talking about now, but there's a lot of, commitments, cloud commitments, not just with us, with others, but where the banks of the tier ones especially have got these pre-committed cloud spends, and from a Microsoft perspective, they can purchase 100% of that transaction cost of that software as a service via that pre-committed cloud spend. So that's why it's easy for them. It's tying into committed spend that is already there, and it brings all these additional functional benefits in terms of speed and managing that whole end-to-end process. So we're certainly seeing there's a lot of uptick, and yeah, fantastic examples across the board of people who are well on that journey and others that are not. So yeah, thank you for those contributions. So I guess of the time that we have remaining, kind of want to summarize and maybe give, you've been providing fantastic insights throughout, but some tangible, I guess, thoughts for those in the room that might be about to undertake a journey with a Microsoft or another hyperscaler. How would you describe the impact of it on your business? In a few words, like what are the key things that you've managed to get from the partnership? So, Shiv, maybe we'll start with you.
I would say in one word, access. So Quantexa often sells into lines of business, so a fraud team or a data CDO, CIO business. We don't often get that access across senior level leadership at our prospects right at the beginning, and Microsoft is helping us to do that, so we can talk to the line of business and we can have one eye on that strategic leadership at the same time.
Amazing, thank you, Emily.
Yeah, I'd totally build on that as well. So kind of realizing that this isn't about channel, this isn't about leads, this is about collaboration, and whether that is, as you say, access, or whether it is working with different industry advisors on building new propositions for kind of new verticals where your product does have a place, but it might be a completely new vertical for you, and actually creating that and positioning that is so much easier with the credibility and the industry advisors and the account executives who are very strategically aligned to all of their customers. So yeah, that would be my point.
I think I would add, and it's a theme that's come up a lot, but credibility to that as well. And I think that's credibility as we go through the journey with existing clients and onboarding with new clients, all the infosec, the procurement. I spoke earlier about the bar being up here. So establishing that credibility and doing it with a partner like Microsoft is very, very powerful. And also through the lens of, there are lots of service providers trying to sell into all the same customers. So we stand above those with the partnership with Microsoft. So it's the credibility it brings us through that lens as well.
I'd say it's about the relationship. So I mean, it's the people that make this happen. So the co-innovation's been amazing, the access to new markets. We've been successful in countries we'd never dreamed of selling into. But all of that's been possible through the partnership that we've built over the last 12 months, and a lot of that has to do with the people that we work with every day, including folks like Stevie. So that's probably for me is the relationship has been fantastic.
I think all the words have gone, have they? I'd echo all of them, quite honestly, but I think something probably a little bit left field would be the pragmatism, and I mean that with the nicest possible intent as well. For when you're dealing with such a huge business such as Microsoft, every individual we have dealt with has been pragmatic, and that is not something you can say for a lot of enterprise grade businesses. I'm seeing a few chuckles around the room here, so there must be some agreement. And I think what that has given us is almost like the confidence to try new things. Because we are effectively the minnow in this relationship, there's huge support and willingness and drive and access, like Shivani mentioned, to sort of give you that opportunity to do so, be that on a new platform, a new product, a new market, a new senior executive, or whatever it may be. So we've been very fortunate. We know we've got a lot further to go, but we're very confident in our choice of partner with Microsoft, absolutely.
Stay where you're at, Alan. Maybe I'll come to you, and we'll bring it home if I can. Again, similarly, what would you do if you're going to do this again? What would you do differently? So I guess of those that pay it forward for those in the room that might be starting out on this journey. How might you approach that if you were going to do it again?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's probably around the education. So we've talked quite a lot about the cloud commitments that these big enterprise clients have. We tend to sell into the business side of the organisation, whereas Microsoft would be more the technology, the procurement side. So being able to educate the business owners of what this vehicle is to unlock budget that's allocated already, which we've started to do through sort of joint events now, that would speed things up, definitely. So, I mean, and Microsoft are doing this now as well, but that's something that we certainly found of value.
Alastair?
I think looking back for us, lean in earlier. So we were mindful of making the right choice, so we probably sat on the fence for longer than we should have, so we should have made the decision early, leaned into it, taken advantage of all of the collaboration that's come from it. And then the other thing, the big lesson for us is simplifying the message. It is a massive organization and also sells into very different stakeholders. So using our specialist language and imagining people will understand what you're talking about, never mind being interested in it, that was somewhat of a shock because we did our first calls and we imagined AutoRek should be the center of Microsoft's world, and guess what, it's not. But they are super interested in what we do for clients, so we've had to make sure that within a few words we're super clear on what the value proposition is and who you want to deliver that message to.
I think I'm going to pinch something someone told me once, and I've used it before, be focused to be famous, and that's never been more apparent in terms of the co-selling piece, that, you know, making sure that we're pretty crisp on what the value prop is. We're not going to sell your solution any better than you will, no one will, but how do we understand enough to then enable and augment around your sales cycle? So I guess that's that kind of be focused to be famous is something that I've used for some others. Kate, anything that you would add? I know that you're...
Yeah, I think through my career, not just at Acin, I think one observation I would have of any sort of partnership strategy is focus. So partnerships always require investment to drive success. So it is better to focus on some key strategic partnerships and drive success and do it well than to focus on many and fail on them all. So focus on who you partner with, but also the focus internally that you deploy there. It's not a side of desk activity. You need to have the right team, resourcing, focus around it. So my theme would be focus.
I'd probably build on a number of those points. I think especially with focus, I still feel that partnerships is a relatively new function. Some businesses are, yes, a lot more established. Some businesses have partnership functions and they don't really know what it means. Is it suppliers? Is it partners? Is it customers? So this is where I would say focus is very important, kind of knowing what partnerships kind of mean to you and therefore where the kind of cloud service provider relationship sits. And then kind of alongside that, know your stakeholders, know your business very well, know who needs to be brought on the journey, the education piece, but also where your sponsorship's going to come from. Again, this is culturally very different sometimes for businesses. This co-selling activity is very different. You're not trying to cannibalize direct revenue, you're trying to support that journey. But yeah, there are certainly a lot of people that you've got to bring on that journey with you as well.
Amazing. And lastly, Shiv.
So in terms of what we would do differently from the learning in our relationship with Microsoft, I think two things. Firstly, I think the power of the relationship with Microsoft can be amazing. And when you have a meeting with an account exec or somebody from the Microsoft team, I would have learned sooner not to get on that call and ask, how can you help me? I would frame it to say, can you help me with? And that small shift is really important because Microsoft are not going to close your deal for you. And if you ask for something a little bit more tangible, you're more likely to get a result. The second thing is I would say engage early in the life cycle of your deal. Alan's example of how Microsoft was able to help them amplify what they were doing is really powerful. If you engage early, you can cover your bases, you get better overall account perspective. So I would really recommend doing that.
Thank you. Just a round of applause for our panel, please, folks. I thought really fantastic insights from everyone. Really appreciate you taking the time. Really appreciate you folks taking the time. We do have a stand, so if you would like to pop by, we've got our obviously partnership with LSEG. We're super pleased to be partnering with them on Innovate Finance this year. If you're interested in going on a similar journey and you would like support and innovation with Microsoft to help you on that journey, please come up and say hello. We're happy to have a chat or ask any questions of the panel today. We don't have the function to ask questions in this environment, but please pop by the stand as well. If you're interested, we have just announced that we're running an AI innovation hack for FinTech specifically on the 30th of June. So if you are interested in dabbling your toes in the water in terms of what we could be doing together, if not doing anything today, then let us know. But thank you all for giving the time, and we've got you with 5 minutes spare to go and grab a drink before anyone else. So how's that? Thank you.